You are watching the Weekend Sports Kickoff right here on KNWT, Channel 8. And welcome back into the Weekend Sports Kickoff. I'm Devin Albertson, and it's time to talk Bearcat basketball again as they got the win last night. The men did versus Pittsburgh State, as they were able to improve on the year to 22-2, I believe.
Yep.
As they were able to get the win last night versus Pitt State. I called the game last night with Luke Sanders, and Orion, you were there as well doing a project for class.
Yep.
As it was a pretty fun game there, a pretty good atmosphere. A lot of tension in that game, though, last night between the players in the court and even a couple technicals being assessed to Pittsburgh State last night.
Yeah, it got a little chippy there for a while. Pittsburgh State likes to talk. They like to get really involved in the game. They're a very fired up bunch of guys. They play emotionally, and it certainly shows every once in a while. Sometimes they let their temper get the best of them, and that happened last night. But all in all, really, I think a very gutsy performance from this Bearcat team to do it without Justin Pitts. They didn't play very well, honestly. 18 turnovers. They shot the ball okay, but they just looked really disjointed. I know Coach McCollum said after the game he was pretty disappointed and just a little frustrated in the way that they played, but they've got to come back and get things figured out for Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. No, last night, 18 turnovers is a lot for that team to deal with. Good thing they shot well from the field last night versus Pitt State, who's a team who's been able to upset a couple of quality teams this year. They've already beaten Minnesota State, Mankato, St. Cloud, and Washburn this year, three teams who are ranked in the original regional rankings this past week. So they're a team that's very talented in Pitt State. They have a lot of guys who are mismatched pieces a little bit, with a lot of transfers coming in. So they're talented, but not a whole lot of chemistry between the guys there on that team. But Northwest, being a Kim Anderson team in Division II is never easy, and they showed that last night with the adjustments that you could see during the game, the cat and mouse game between Kim Anderson and Coach McCollum going back and forth there, whether it was Northwest going to the post early, getting a couple buckets there, then Pitt State bringing the hard trap, and then Doherty able to find shooters, and then they take the trap from somewhere else, and Northwest had to adjust on the fly, and they started bringing more of the pressure in full court. So just that cat and mouse game between McCollum and Anderson was really fun to watch last night, to see two good coaches going back at each other with that cat and mouse game. As then we go to Saturday, and the women and the men play against Missouri Southern at 1:30 for the women, 3:30 for the men, as the women are going to honor Mele Tuapati and Tanya Meyer. I hope I'm saying Mele's name right.
Nope, you missed it twice.
What is it?
Tupawata.
Tupawata?
Mele Tupawata.
Okay, because I said it last night and Luke, he's on the scout team, and I said it that way, and he's like, honestly, I have no idea. So I think everyone pretty just calls her Mele because it's easier that way. And, of course, Tanya Meyer, who is now 9th all-time in both rebounds and points in women's Bearcat history. So congratulations to her last night. She had a heck of a game, 31 points and 7 rebounds in the loss last night as they played Missouri Southern to try to keep their season on the line there as they need a win versus the Lions to stay in contention for that 12th seed as Missouri Western's taking on Pitt State. And Pitt State should beat Western, but if Northwest get a win versus Missouri Southern, get some momentum going in that last week, it could really help them out. And if we go to the men's side, Missouri Southern, a lot on the line in this game. Missouri Southern trying to battle for a spot in the regional rankings, the regional playoffs. Northwest, if they win the game, they have clinched at least a share of the MIAA title, and I believe they'll probably clinch the 1 seed down in Kansas City for the MIAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to take care of business against Lincoln and Lindenwood, but
I believe they'll have the tiebreakers, though, against Washburn for that 1 seed in the MIAA tournament, though, if they do win on Saturday. So they'll at least clinch the number 1 seed in the tournament for the MIAA, and, of course, they're still trying to clinch the 1 seed in the Central Region tournament as well. That's the big one right now. I know everybody wants to win the MIAA, but the big one is getting to host in Maryville and getting the regional tournament to come through Maryville and the road to the Elite Eight through Maryville.
Yeah, I think that this Southern team, I don't think a loss to Northwest is going to take this Southern team out of contention for a spot in the region either. But I think this team's got a lot to play for. The Southern has a lot to play for. Northwest has a lot to play for as well, but it's going to be tough on Saturday. Southern's a physical team. They're athletic. They're going to give Northwest just about all that they can handle, and if Northwest comes out and plays down the way that they did, especially in the second half against this Pitt State team, it's not going to be easy. It's certainly going to they're going to be locked in a dogfight for 40 minutes against this Missouri Southern team, and they're going to have to just do what they can to make it out alive.
And it's one of those deals like Missouri Southern, you said there, a loss won't hurt them, but a win will definitely elevate them into the regional rankings. If you have 2 wins in the year versus the number 1 team in the region, you're going to probably get in the regional rankings with that resume. And as Mr. Kelsey said in the championship parade in Philadelphia, an underdog is a hungry dog. So they're definitely coming to Maryville ready to win this game.
A team with nothing to lose is really scary at this point if you're Northwest. Yep. So they're going to have to come out and bring everything they've got.
I feel like if Northwest stays out of foul trouble and their defense if their defense stays strong as they did in the first half of Thursday's game, we honestly might have a really good chance of pulling out and winning this game here this Saturday. And even if we don't have Pitts there, and if Ibu Wendell, if he stays in the game the full time, because he's pretty much our best ball handler right now without Pitts.
Yeah.
And if we just run through the offense through him, we should be fine.
Yeah, definitely a good opportunity there with Endow being able to show his skills more as a ball handler as of late. And I think that'll help them later on if they want to give Justin Pitts a little bit of off-ball action, a little bit. They can either have him or Kurth bring the ball up every once in a while just to give him some relax in his minutes, so not all high-stress minutes. They can bring some a little bit off him a little bit there and let him be more effective on the court instead of just being a high-usage player. You can be a little more effective there. Justin Pitts is always a pretty effective player. I mean, if you're 5'8", 5'9", whatever, how tall he actually is, and you're shooting 52% from the field, 41% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line, you're pretty efficient as a basketball player. So also averaging over 5 assists and 19 points a game.
Just need to stay out of foul trouble. If we stay out of foul trouble, we are fine.
Yeah. I think one of the big keys is going to be through Brett Doherty. Doherty's become a real weapon for this offense. He's been able to play really well. He's been able to put the ball in the bucket basically whenever he wants against a lot of teams. And I think part of the issue with some of the games that they've had this year, the first one that comes to mind is the game at Emporia last week, was that they kept going to Doherty in the first half, and he was scoring at will. Nobody could stop him, and then they stepped away from it in the second half. I think in order to have success against this Southern team, they're going to have to feed the ball to Brett Doherty. They're going to have to give him the opportunities that he can get. And with his footwork, he's made himself into an incredible player down low with his footwork. He's a little bit undersized. He's not the strongest guy in the world, although he does have a lot of strength. He's not the quickest guy in the world, but he's got the footwork and the shot to get it done, and he's really made himself into that player.
And as you said there with Brett Doherty, he might not be the biggest guy, but he's big enough. He's not the fastest guy, but he's quicker for the fast guy, for the big lumbering guys, but he's strong enough for the small guys that they can't quite get around him, and he's still quick enough to stay with him. So he's got a nice little blend of both styles of games there. And as you said with his footwork, it's improved so much from his freshman year to now. He is so good in the post, getting that extra little half a step in there and get an open look there. Instead of taking a contested post shot, you have a wide open look there. So he does a really good job with that last night. Even you saw it last night whenever Pitt State brought in Dietrich Cole Jr., who is 6'10", 240, and he tried to bang with Doherty in the post. He would score every once in a while, but Doherty made it really tough on him and just wouldn't just get blown over in the post by a much larger human being down there with Cole Jr. But right now, Doherty, in 3 of the last 4 games, has scored over 10 points. He had 17 versus Lindenwood, 7 versus Emporia, 19 versus Washburn, which tied a season high, then also 11 points versus Pitt State on Saturday. And the one thing that I look at with Doherty that's even more impressive than just him scoring in the post is his ability to pass out of the post. Versus Truman, 6 assists. Versus Washburn the first time, 6 assists. 6 assists versus Simpson College. 7 assists at Fort Hays. And 7 assists last night versus Pittsburgh State. He's a guy who is unselfish in the post. So if a double team does come, he's not just like, hey, I'm going to try to score this no matter what because I don't get the ball very often. He's a guy like, hey, Ryan Welty's wide open in the corner. He's a great three-point shooter. I'm going to give him the ball, let him score. And they do a nice job moving that ball around. That extra pass really helps that offense with Doherty out of the post.
And watching Doherty, and I'm going to say this, he's one of the best players I've seen at understanding in the post when he should pass out of the post and when he should go ahead and make his move. He understands, and he does it quick. It's split second. He makes that decision, okay, I need to pass out. I don't have anything here. I can make my move, and I can go score. And when you look at these games, he's scoring points, 11 points, 4 for 6 shooting. He understands when to get his bucket and when he needs to let his teammates get theirs.
And the great thing about Doherty is you see when he's down low and the opposing team has had trouble stopping him, he'll draw a double. He'll get down low, he'll draw a double team. We saw it back-to-back possessions against Pitt State. gets the ball down low on the right block, draws a double, kicks it out to Doherty kicks it out to Welty on the wing, and he hits a three. The next possession down, same thing on the other side, draws the double, kicks to Hawkins on the wing, and he hits a three. It was back to back, and Brett Doherty contributed 6 points in back-to-back possessions while touching the basketball for maybe a second or two.
Yep.
I feel like teams overlook his ability on the court because they're all expecting, they're gonna have, if Pitts is playing, we have to like guard him. There's Dow, he's over there. Kurth. Nobody is like looking at Doherty through the entire game. The little moments mean the most, and he's hitting those little moments.
And he's averaging 10 points a game this year. Also about 3.5 rebounds. He's not a big rebounding guy, but he's a guy who's just gonna box out the other big guy and let Endow or someone else get the rebound. So he still does his job on the defensive end with the rebounds and make sure Northwest wins those rebounding battles. And one thing you guys always said with that, he forces teams, you can't just straight double him because then he has that great passing ability, and either someone for a three or Endow or Kurth cutting to the lane, he can hit them as well. And he just does a nice job. But also, when Pitts does get back and healthy, he sets a really good ball screen and rolls to the bucket hard. And when he gets that ball, as Jacob said, he's very decisive whether he's going to score or kick to the opposite side for an open three. So he's really vital to this team. And I said it after the Washburn game when he scored 19 points and had 6 rebounds in that game, that he was one of the most underrated big men because he went head-to-head with Brady Skeens, who's probably the best defensive big man in the MIAA.
And beat up.
And won that battle. And he won that battle. I'm like, he's probably the most underrated big man in the MIAA. And Austin Meyer, the assistant coach, he quote tweeted and said, in the nation. I mean, he is severely underrated nationwide there because, as Ryan said, he's only 6'7", 220. He's not an overpowering guy. He's not a guy that's like super quick or super athletic. He's going to dunk on you every time. Yeah. He's just crafty.
The other thing is, at an undersized 4, a lot of guys expect, okay, if you're going to be undersized, you're going to have to shoot. Doherty doesn't shoot. No. Doherty does not shoot the three, doesn't shoot mid-range. He gets into the bucket, works down low, and makes it because of his footwork. One of the things that I do want to point out, you talked about the low rebound numbers, not necessarily a reflection on Brett Doherty, but more of a reflection on the style of basketball that Northwest plays. They don't have any guys that have huge rebound numbers, and Dow's the top rebounder, but nobody's averaging 11, 12, 13 rebounds a game because every time down the floor they're forcing the opponent to a one-shot possession. Yep. Rarely do they ever see an opponent take more than one shot in a possession, and a lot of times they'll have possessions where the opponent doesn't take a shot. And that's just a testament to this defense. When the other team isn't taking a whole lot of shots, you're not going to get a whole lot of rebounds, and I think that's what that attributes to.
And you said part of it's the pace of play because the Northwest plays such good defense. They don't allow much dribble penetration or stuff like that, so there's not like people are getting their shot off in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. It's usually with 5 seconds left on the shot clock. They have to get something up, and all of a sudden you clear that rebound. There's 25 seconds gone from the game. Northwest takes the clock down themselves. They score. All of a sudden it's almost a minute off the game. There's only been one rebound allowed, only one rebound to get even. So Northwest does a good job, as you said there, with just limiting the possessions there and not letting the other team have a lot of possessions to score or get easy buckets.
And that's one thing that makes this Northwest team so hard to beat, so hard to play against, is that as an opposing team, you know you're not going to get very many possessions. You know that you're going to get less possessions than you're used to, so you have to capitalize on everything you possibly can, and unless you do, you're going to get beat. And that's what makes this Northwest team so difficult to try to play.
We're going to get score predictions real quick. Does anybody have a quick score prediction off the top of their head? Last time it was 83-77. Southern beat Northwest down in Joplin. Anybody have a score prediction off the top of their head?
75-60.
75-60 Northwest. Okay.
I was going to say like 74-62.
I'll have a close one. It'd be 72-68.
Okay, I'm going to go.
It's going to be a nail-biter.
I think Northwest limits the possessions a lot here. It's going to be the first of 70 wins. Northwest 70, Southern 68. So I think it's going to be a 2-point game. Northwest ekes it out at the end, gets a defensive stop for the win there. Southern had a chance to win at the buzzer, but Northwest gets the stop for the win.
We're getting very specific.
I'm getting
Who
very
takes
specific.
the shot at the buzzer?
For them, I'm going to go Carr. CJ Carr, the little point guard.
And off Kurth back rim? Is he short? Off front rim?
Kurth is all over him, and he gets a piece of it.
He
gets a piece of it.
All right.
So if Kurth makes that happen,
so
I
3-pointer or a 2-pointer?
I swear, if that happens, I am taking this little piece off this show, and I will do the flashback next week, and I'll feel like a genius
3-pointer or a 2-pointer?
Long two.
Long two?
Long two.
Okay, from where?
Okay, we're good now. Okay, I think I've been specific enough on this one right here.
Long two from the left wing it is.
That'll work. I swear if that happens, I'll be so happy.
18 feet or so?
Wow.
Okay. I'm
Okay,
done now.
we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Major League Baseball spring training starting as practice. They're starting to report
At some point.
They're starting to report this week. All the players, I believe, report on Monday for most teams. So we'll have that coming up next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. As we are back on the Weekend Sports Kickoff, I'm Devin Albertson, joined by Ryan Elliott, Jacob Blair, and Kramer Sansone. As it's time to talk about some baseball here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff, as Hugh Darvish signed with the Cubs earlier this week. And I know Kramer and Ryan were talking about this a little bit earlier. It's an awful deal for the Cubs. Can you guys explain that a little bit? I'll go you first, Kramer, how bad it is for the Chicago Cubs, which I love as a Cardinals fan.
Well, first off, the money situation on this. He's overpaid, completely overpaid on this. And honestly, I feel like Darvish has already peaked. There's nothing that he can bring to the table anymore. And if he does, if he's going to try his hardest, he's going to get hurt. Like that's pretty much how I feel about this. Which, I mean, I don't want to see this happen with Darvish because he's a dominant pitcher. But the Cubs got the short end of the stick on this.
Yeah. In fact, honestly, with 100% honesty, the Cubs got totally hosed in this deal. To have to pay Darvish $150 million over 6 years is frankly ridiculous. Or 100. Okay, there you go. 126 million over.
Either
6
way,
years.
it's a lot of money.
It's frankly ridiculous.
It's more than
because Darvish, when he got here, was overhyped, and everybody was way too excited about you, Darvish. He's got crazy stuff, but it honestly works to his disadvantage because he has a hard time controlling his crazy stuff. He's got like 15 different pitches, all of which have insane break, but he has a hard time controlling it. He's pitched okay over his first few years here in the U.S., but he spent a few years in Japan prior to that. He is a Tommy John surgery waiting to happen because of all of the torque that he puts on that elbow. He is a Tommy John surgery waiting to happen, and I think the Cubs took a huge risk signing him at all, let alone for $126 million over 6 years.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you look at his what he did last year, he went 10-12, had a 3.86 ERA. I mean, he did decent in the National League when he was in L.A., but it's still not that his rookie year. Like, granted, his first 2 seasons in the MLB were great. I think they were great for way how hyped he was. I mean, he wasn't like a person from overseas like Tanaka or something like that after his first season.
Or Daisuke.
Or Daisuke, yeah, it's very true. Because that's what everybody thought he would be, is that Daisuke. But this is not good for the Cubs. And he's 30 years old. He's at the end of this contract, if he even stays with Chicago or if he gets traded from Chicago, he'll be 36 when this is all over.
I mean, his first year in the majors, he pitched 191 innings, had 221 strikeouts, ERA of 3.9. The next year, pitched 209 innings, had 277 strikeouts, and ERA of 2.83. So he's been decent. That was 2013 when he had the 277 strikeouts. He hadn't broke 200 strikeouts since then. Hasn't been able to pitch over 150 innings in a season. I guess he did last year combined between Texas and L.A., but just barely. So he's really struggled. His ERA wasn't great last year at 3.86. So he's just a guy that's really struggled the last couple of years, and he played really bad in the World Series.
He has underperformed,
yes,
without a doubt, to what anybody expected him to be. Everybody expected him. Everybody thought we were talking about what we thought Daisuke Matsuzaka was going to be. Mm-hmm. What we thought, a lot of these pitchers that have come over are going to be, Hideo Nomo. You talk about guys like that. We talked about Tanaka a little bit. People thought he was going to be that kind of pitcher, that he was going to be somebody who can step in, make a huge impact on a team, and he just hasn't been. He's honestly been a middle-of-the-rotation guy. The Cubs just spent $126 million on a middle-of-the-rotation pitcher.
With a big name, who's going to get a lot of attention if he does not do well in Chicago. If he underperforms, they're going to let him know in Chicago.
And that's the thing. He's already linked to injuries because he already had Tommy John in 2015.
And I honestly think that it is a ticking time bomb for him to have another one.
Because once you already have it, the surgery once, you're bound to turn and have it again.
They'd have been better off re-signing Jake Arrieta. I think without a doubt. honestly.
That's true.
And you know what?
They
Yu
probably
Darvish may come out and have a great season, but
Long
I don't
run.
think in the long run, there's no way this is worth $126 million.
I completely agree with you on this.
So when he's 36 years old, you don't think he's going to be worth $21 million a year?
Absolutely not.
So that's what
He'll be worth $21 million a year in the same way that Albert Pujols is worth $21 million a year right now,
that's definitely
That's-
fair.
which is not at all.
If you look at the top free agents according to ESPN, 4 of the top 5 have been signed with Darvish, Kane, Cozart, and Santana. The one that hasn't is Jake Arrieta. He's still a free agent. Behind that, 3 straight guys who haven't been signed between 6 through 8. J.D. Martinez, Eric Hosmer, Alex Cobb. Of course, Todd Frazier signed with the Mets. You still have Carlos Gomez, Logan Morrison unsigned, Jay Bruce signed with the Mets, and then Mike Moustakas is still unsigned. So the top 13, you still have 7 guys who haven't been signed there. It's a lot of quiet stuff here in the MLB, and with practice starting Monday.
Yeah, so I have a question for you guys that know baseball a little bit more than I do. We've seen this offseason that these guys are waiting to try to get money that teams don't want to give them. This signing with Yu Darvish, what does this do for all these other guys that are like, we want this money, you haven't been wanting to get us, but then now he's gone out and gotten way overpaid.
They're going to expect that kind of money, and I don't think they're going to get it. And now this has put baseball in a position to where they are dangerously close to not having some of these guys on rosters when the season starts.
Yep, that's very true.
And
Which
you're wasting money.
That is unprecedented. Almost every season I can think of since 2000, all of the bigger free agents have been signed by this point.
Someone's got to budge here sooner or later, and I don't think it's going to be the teams.
And once, like, say this does happen, and say they do sign with the team, and say it's like as late as the trade deadline, then that team that they were on lose that constipation pick.
Before that, yeah.
Yes, because they can honestly hold out, and this can honestly like backfire on the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If it goes that long,
Which I hope not. I really hope not.
then we're in big trouble. But I think, honestly, as late as one of these guys is going to sign is beginning of May, which would be terrible.
Yeah.
For
It's bad for the sport.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's happened before, but rarely has it happened, and I don't think ever has it happened with this many big name free agents that there's a chance none of them could be on a roster come opening day.
There's no reason a guy like Eric Hosmer is not in a roster opening day, or Mike Moustakas.
Absolutely.
There's no reason like Alex Cobb is not your starting pitcher opening day, or the second two or three starter opening day. There's no reason these guys are are all these guys Scott Boras clients? Like, I don't know who.
I don't think all of them are, but
a good chunk of them are.
They're all affected by the things that, because now Boras is asking for so much. People around the rest of the MLB are going to start asking for the same thing.
Because if you don't, they're going to go to Scott Boras like, hey, Boras can give me more money than you can, and it's just going to be a giant mess.
Yeah, and they're all seeing the commission that Scott Boras is making on these deals, and it's just monster deals,
And that's why I love baseball and all, but sometimes it's not about the money. Seriously, it's not. It's about winning.
The fit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And what I've seen today, too, Joe mentioned out, I looked more into it. Jason Vargas signed a 2-year, $16 million deal, which that's a very good deal for Jason Vargas. Being 35 years old, that's perfect. Why don't people do more signees of this, like a 2-year, 1 year?
And he has incentives on top of that, $16 million. He can earn more than that if he has a good year.
And also
Because people want to be insured, like Yu Darvish, that if he has to have Tommy John surgery in a year and a half, he's still signed to 4.5 more years of contract. If he signs a 2-year deal, he has to have Tommy John surgery in a year and a half. The Cubs can go, okay, bye.
Yep.
And on this point, I feel like the Cubs should have went after Jason Vargas more than Yu Darvish, because you're going to get, I know the age is different, but Vargas had a lot better year than Vargas had a lot better year than Darvish last year.
So you got a quick break. Be back next here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff. Thank you for watching the Weekend Sports Kickoff. As my producer Joe says, I must tell you to click right here to watch other episodes. I'm also requiring you to click right down here for some other KNWT content. We will see you next week here on the Weekend Sports Kickoff.